deans of faculty, former inaugural lecturers, the provost, the CMD, council members are sitting here. So can we empty this space? And if there are ushers, please ensure no one is sitting around there. Thank you very much for complying. And our apologies for any inconvenience. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the procession is about to start. We believe that the choir will lead us. And when they are coming in, I believe we'll all be on our feet, which is our protocol.
While the procession is about to take off, may I humbly welcome the chairman of... okay. The procession is on. The procession is on. May we be on our feet. May we be on our feet as the procession is on. As I welcome the chairman, ASU, Enugu State, Professor Emeka Nnamani. The chairman, ASU, ESUT, Professor Emeka Nnamani. God bless you. I welcome the former House of Assembly member that represented Ojiriba State Constituency. I welcome you, a pharmacist Jeff Umba. Honorable, you are welcome. Magic Mayor, no, thank you. May I equally acknowledge Leonard Silk. I welcome you, Chief Ikazo Akariwe, SAN. You are welcome. I equally acknowledge the Director of National Primary Healthcare Development, Mr. James Chukwuwendo. You are welcome. And of course, Mr. Ikenna Chukwuwendo. You are welcome.
As we recognize as well, members of the Rotary Club of Ekulu sit here in this hall. PDG Oke Okonkwo, AG Emeka Ohebolam, President-elect Nesh Ohebolam, and Rotarian Ifeanyi Obiesie. While we expect more Rotarians, where interestingly both husband and wife, the inaugural lecturer and his amiable wife, are both members. We'll be having more Rotarians fill this hall, definitely. We're expecting that the LED screen will show what's outside. And we please need to crave your indulgence for family members who are not allowed in for want of space. There's a canopy for you. Can we all be upstanding? Can we be upstanding? And we need no one to block the aisles, please.
In the procession, we have Professor Nwabado, Dean Allied Sciences, and of course, Professor Oke Oji, the 40th something. Still on the procession, we have Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi, and of course, Professor Martin Anukwe. Ladies and gentlemen, the presence of the Vice Chancellor and the Council members. Thank you, the national anthem. Okay, continue, choir. National anthem. School anthem.
We are the children of Enugu State, University of Science and Technology. We shall cast the streets of peace away and put on a modern technology. Among the state Enugu, the man of it is crucial. We shall never restore our growth, take all endeavors for others are fulfilled. Technology for service, service
While we still remain standing, can we invite Venerable Ben Chika Anele to please come up for the opening prayer?
Let us pray. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for gathering us together today to celebrate the love you have for humanity by giving us part of your wisdom, of your knowledge, to go into science and to be able to take care of man you created in your own image. Today we are grateful that you have assembled us, Father, as we are going to witness the 41st professorial lecture of your servant, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi. Thank you for the university. Thank you for his parents. Thank you for people who have gathered from far and wide to be here. The traditional rulers, the politicians, the medical doctors, students, friends from far and wide. We are grateful to you. Lord, we commit this program into your hand. As we welcome your Holy Spirit to inspire him, to use him to minister to us. That as he delivered this lecture, every one of us will see the need for us to remember that of a truth you are our Father, who created us in your own image and have given us that grace to be able to look into life you have created and be able to be instrument through your hands in touching those lives. Bless us in this program. Bless the university, bless the vice chancellor, the lecturers, the traditional rulers, and all who are here today. That at the end of this program, you brought us here safely. We also will go back home safely to the glory of your name. And so, Holy Spirit divine, you are welcome. Have your way. In Jesus' mighty name we have prayed.
May we get seated? You are welcome to the 41st Inaugural Professorial Lecture of Enugu State University of Science and Technology. We welcome you to Enugu State University of Science and Technology, where we are celebrating innovations and excellence. The Vice Chancellor of this great university, a great man, I welcome you, Professor Aloysius Michaels Okolie. Please, there is a mix-up. We have the presence of His Excellency. Pardon, thank you. I welcome Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Dr. Peter Ndubuisi, Ojuze Mogo, ably represented by the Honorable Commissioner for Water Resources, Dr. Felix Nnamani. I welcome you. The able and dynamic Vice Chancellor of this great institution, a transformer, Professor Aloysius Michaels Nnabugu Okolie. The able Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Chika Anele. The Provost of this great college of Medicine, Professor Uchenna Ekwochi. Your Excellency, May I inform you that we have Mr. Speaker, the Speaker of Enugu State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Engineer Uchenna Ugo, ably represented by the House Committee Chairman on Education, the Honorable Member representing Oji River State Constituency, Honorable Chief Osita Eze. The Registrar of this great institution, Sir Ambrose Ugo. The Bossa of this great institution, Dr. Augustine Oj. And the Librarian, Dr. Justina Eze. God bless you, the Chairman of this inaugural committee, Professor Ezamenyi. The council members, including Professor Felix Asogwa. God bless you. Professor Dr. Oledo Eric. God bless you. And the Honorable Dr. Chinedu Onu, you are respectfully welcome. The past inaugural lecturers, including Professor Oke Oji, Professor Martin Anikwe, Professor Ngozika Mbajogo, Professor Chika Anele, Professor Okafor, Professor Okwo, and of course, Professor Ezamonyuku. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome all the traditional rulers.
Hey.
The former vice chancellors, including Professor Luke Oke Anike, and the former acting vice chancellor, Professor Charles Eze, we welcome you. All the past provosts, including Professor Abba, you are welcome. Professors, deans, and directors present, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to this great event, the 41st inaugural Professorial Lecture of Enugu State University of Science and Technology. On that note, Your Excellency, with your kind permission, may I humbly invite a man that came and saw and was using the principles of destructive innovation in repositioning this great institution. Your Excellency, permit me to invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Aloysius Michaels Nnabugu Okolie, to address us.
The Executive Governor of Enugu State, Barrister Peter Ndubuisi, ably represented by our own Honorable Commissioner for Water Resources, Dr. Felix Naman, you are welcome. The council members here, you are most welcome. The management staff, our former vice chancellors, distinguished professors, our royal fathers, the inaugural lecturer. Let me please, the past inaugural lecturers, I will not forget you. I would have run into trouble with you now. So let me please request that I should be permitted to stand on already established protocol. We are all glad to be here once again to advance the cause of scholarship in ESUT. We are happy that today we are not going to be permitted to be paying consultation fees to learn or to go and meet the inaugural lecturer to guide us so that we'll learn from what ordinarily we have been learning today in a clinic. Today is an open space that will afford him the opportunity to interface with all of us, to share very important matter, health issue, preventing paralysis, paradox in our nervous and medical system, where he chose to identify problems and igniting progress. He didn't say igniting solutions. He feels that there is no permanent solution, but he's going to prove us right or wrong. But he's going to speak on this very important issue, which will enable us to have healthy living. The last time we were at the college for inaugural lecture was when our own dear professor came here to educate us, and we took home a lot of things. You know, we believe that coming to the college again is already reminding us of something. What is reminding us is that college is alive and well, and that people are now coming from the college trying to present inaugural lecture and do the needful. It's equally reminding our guests today, especially our visitor, of the need to have a better auditorium at the College of Medicine. Well, I think we deserve better here. We are here for this very important issue as a professor of neurology. And we started the process this morning by signing an MOU with Memphis Hospital so that we can partner with Memphis Hospital on a number of things that will promote ESUT, promote the college. That MOU has been signed and sealed. Implementation starts immediately. We are equally glad to officially inform us that the university is making some progress in all areas of scholarship. On returning from Abuja last night, we came with a letter which now approved that ESU should run radiography, run public health, run human health, and dietetics, then biomedical engineering. These 4 programs have been approved by NUC, and we are going to start immediately admitting students for the 2024-2025 academic session. We thank His Excellency for all the support he has been giving us, giving to the college, giving to ESUT. We have received enormous assistance. In fact, virtually 70–80% of all the equipment we needed for these 4 programs were provided by His Excellency. And we are looking forward to receiving positive results from all the programs that we are reaccredited. Top on the list is Faculty of Law. We are very hopeful that before we go for Christmas, we'll mark 100% positive results in all the reaccredited programs of the university. So we thank you so much. What we are doing is just a starting point. For us, we have not started. We are going to start when we reach where we are going. And we believe that with the full support we have been receiving, that we shall get there quicker than expected. I will seize this opportunity to request parents, our staff, to release their children from 1 year old to 12 years for ESUT staff Christmas party. That will be on Sunday. So, we are going to seize the opportunity to begin to bring our children together, to begin to interface, and more importantly, to begin to pray for the parents and pray for the university. And the inaugural lecturers, please note that it may be too short. We don't have space. Tomorrow we shall be going for budget defense at the State Assembly. On Monday we shall be back here for, is it award day? College award and prize giving ceremony on Monday. On Tuesday we shall be here again for college board. On Wednesday we shall have council. On Thursday we shall have first meeting of ESU Business Council. On Friday we'll have the full meeting of ESU Business Council. You have seen that Christmas has gone. So please note that we are so busy, but we shall be sparing time to be coming to ensure that the university is well and alive. Having said that, we shall have opportunity of interfacing with you, no matter how brief it will be. We believe that the day we are going to have the ESU Council, we shall spare 3 hours to have interaction with all inaugural lecturers at ESU Business School. We shall interact with you on the way forward, and management shall be glad to get feedback from you and to know the way forward. All inaugural lecturers, is mandatory that you must be there. That's by 2 p.m. on Tuesday. We are going to squeeze our time to make sure that we are meeting up with all these our obligations. So let me thank you once again. Let me congratulate all the people that have presented inaugural lectures before. Let me equally congratulate the band that agreed to present inaugural lecture today. It is not easy to present inaugural lecture. The first step is even to conceive a title. Second step is to begin to dream about the title. Third step is begin to remember all you have done that led you into becoming or being pronounced a university professor. And lastly, if you remember all this, how do you conjure all the journeys into a single presentation of 1 hour? It's not easy. And not only that, if you are coming, you will notice something remarkable. A lot of things you have done outside there, I don't know. Somebody is spending a lot of money to host you after this inaugural lecture. I've made it very clear. The most important thing about inaugural lecture is not to host us. It is to come and present inaugural lecture. If you give us water, we'll take. Don't overburden yourself, because what is carrying most of us is because of the amount we are going to spend. But it is equally another test on all of us. If you don't have friends, you ask yourself, why on earth you ever become a professor without having friends? It's a test of your integrity. It's a test of your network. You are going to demonstrate it in theory now and in practice. So, but don't be scared about it. The management shall continue to subsidize in a little way all presentations of all the lectures that shall be presented. So let me thank you so much. And I think this will be, I think this will be the ninth for the year. This is the 9th inaugural lecture for the year. So we are hoping that in 2025, if we don't surpass 9, at least we don't go below 9. If it gets to a point that we'll get below it, I will schedule you people by myself and you present it. Don't allow us to get to the point of saying it is mandatory and it is compulsory. I believe that you surrender yourself and present this, starting from maybe February next year down to December. We are prepared to accommodate 10 of you, 12 of you next year, but not below 9. So let me thank you, and I wish our inaugural lecture a very successful presentation. Welcome all.
We can do better than this. That's a wonderful one from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Aloysius Michaels Okolie. Your Excellency, may I inform you that we have the presence of the Honorable Member representing Aninri Ogwo, Ojiriva Federal Constituency, the House Committee Chairman on NDGs and environmental degradation. I welcome you, Honorable Sir Engineer Dr. Anayo Onwebo, ably represented by the Special Advisor on Projects, Honorable Sir Ephraim Ofia, and entourage. We welcome you. Your Excellency, may I equally inform you that my Lord is here, the former Chief Judge of Enugu State, Honorable Justice MP Emehelu. Your Excellency, may I equally inform you officially the CEO of Memphis Hospitals Enugu, Professor Ohebunam. You are welcome. And of course, Your Excellency, permit me to inform you that we have the presence of the Mayor of Ojuriva Local Government, Honorable Anyebudike Jerry. You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quickly, would like to invite Professor Obi Namani for the citation. Please, a round of applause for her as she comes up stage.
Within a space of 10 years as a neurosurgeon, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi has managed over 40,000 neurosurgical cases and operated on more than 5,000 neurosurgical patients, a testament to his hard work, doggedness, and pursuit for excellence. Following his graduation from the University of Port Harcourt Medical School, his internship and National Youth Service, young Dr. Chika Anele proceeded to the only private training institution for neurosurgeons in West Africa, Memphis Hospital, Enugu. In 2014, he completed his specialist training in neurosurgery and proceeded for an international clinical fellowship as a visiting neurosurgeon at Shinshin University School of Medicine, Japan. He has also participated in many certificate programs and courses, including human resource management courses of the National Postgraduate College of Nigeria, the Rotary International Leadership Institute, and the development course of the Trauma Committee of American College of Surgeons. In both the private and public sectors, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi has demonstrated managerial capacity for positively influencing staff performance and overall success of organizations through team building, direct involvement in conflict management, effective mentoring, constructive feedback, and adaptability to environmental dynamics. At Esut Medical School, he pioneered and established the neurosurgery unit of Esut Teaching Hospital and ensured the takeoff of neurosurgery procedures at the teaching hospital. At the time, many indigents in our society were dying from preventable neurosurgical diseases, a testament to his ability not only to appreciate challenging situations, but also to work out sustainable solutions for economic prosperity. Over the years, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi rose to the position of HOD of surgery, where, together with his team, initiated and successfully commenced the PhD program in clinical neurosciences in collaboration with Memphis Hospital of Neurosurgery, Enugu. His team also initiated and coordinated the introduction to clinical medicine programs, as well as other orientation and research activities that have brought huge academic successes to students and staff. As Dean and Coordinator of Student Affairs, Esut College of Medicine, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi led a team that resolved the lingering challenge of hostel allocation to students, streamlining the process, addressing the issues of racketeering, as well as other day-to-day challenges facing students and staff living and working in the hostel. As head of quality assurance in his faculty, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi and his team ensured standards of expected quality in clinical and academic activities, as well as in the procurement process in the faculty. In the private sector, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi has left an indelible mark on the canvas of leadership. From his years as resident doctor to date, he has undergone a long process of tutelage under his mentor, Emeritus Professor Samuel Ohiebulam, the CEO of Memphis Hospital, Enugu. This rare privilege has not only shaped his business thinking and attitude to service, it has also strengthened his managerial capacity and sharpened his knack for improvisation. Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi chaired the anniversary think tank committee of Memphis Hospital and played key roles that helped the hospital to achieve and sustain its current standards as a pioneer in cutting-edge neurosurgery practice in Nigeria. As the head of neurosurgery Memphis Hospital, Professor Ndubuisi was in charge of the day-to-day running of the hospital, including clinical, academic, residency trainings, and some other assigned administrative responsibilities. In that capacity, he managed clinical and other non-clinical staff and directly handled the day-to-day complaints of patients. He initiated, chaired, and sustained a compulsory doctors' early morning meeting to encourage teamwork, collective better decision-making, and complication prevention in clinical practice. Under his watch at Memphis Hospital, more than 20 neurosurgeons from the West African sub-region were mentored and supported to graduate as medical doctors. The National Secretary General of the Nigerian Academy of Neurosurgical Surgeons and a member of the Executive Committee of the World Federation of Neurological Societies, Professor Chika Ndubuisi was the national chairman and a foundation co-chair of the Young Nigerian Neurosurgeons Forum, where he coordinated the takeoff of this association at the national level. He grew its membership, facilitated access to training support for young Nigerian neurosurgeons globally, and helped the members to find a voice in Africa and the World Federation of Neurosurgical Surgeons. At the home front, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi is not a backbencher. He has served as a special advisor to the executive chairman of the Oji River local government area. He has also served as National Secretary General, Amankpunatu Achi Town Union. He equally served as chairman of multipurpose cooperative societies and is the founder of Amankpunatu Achi Skill and Education Youth Empowerment Scheme, which has so far awarded full academic scholarship and support for small-scale businesses to more than 20 youths. In recognition of his outstanding contribution to peace and development in his community, the Eze Amanatu Kingdom awarded him a certificate of recognition. He has been volunteering for many public health enlightenment campaigns in media houses and served as guest speaker in many conferences. These administrative responsibilities in both the private and the public sectors have offered him the opportunity to hone his skills in the art of leadership and to make significant contributions to this society. Born to the family of Sir Nze Davidson Lebechukwanya Ndubuisi and Lady Jenny Gebenti Ndubuisi on 8th May 1979 in Amankpunatu Autonomous Community, Achi Local Government Area of Enugu State, Professor Chika Ndubuisi is a recipient of several awards. He won the prestigious Sir Samuel Manoa Prize for being the overall best graduating specialist in all surgery specialists in Nigeria. He was the best graduating student in medicine at the University of Port Harcourt Medical School. He was a recipient of the University of Port Harcourt Scholarship for Academic Excellence. the overall best registrar during his Part 1 residency program and during his youth service. He also won the Gombe State Merit Awards for outstanding volunteer rural medical outreach service in many communities. An active researcher who has featured in many scientific conferences, Professor Chika Ndubuisi has published over 64 published journal articles to his credit. He is the editorial board secretary, Journal of Biomedic Science in Africa. He is the founding editor, Journal of Clinical and Biometrics Practice. He's also a fellow of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, a fellow of the West African College of Surgeons, and a fellow of the American College of Surgeons. Professor Chika Anele is married to beautiful Dr. Ifeoma Ndubuisi, and they are blessed with 5 children. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, His Excellency, the Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Provost College of Medicine, council members here present, distinguished professors of the College of Medicine, His Royal Highnesses, spiritual and temporal, ladies and gentlemen, behold one of our youngest and brightest scholars, the 41 inaugural lecturer, Professor of Neurosurgery, consultant, Enugu State University of Science and Technology, Professor Chika Anele Ndubuisi.
That's wonderful. Your Excellency, I beg Professor Ndubuisi to sit down and relax his nerves for the next 3 seconds. Esut Choir, let's go there. Thank you. Thank you, Esut Choir. Thank you, Your Excellency. Before Professor Ndubuisi makes his presentation, may I inform you that we have the presence of the former Secretary to the State Government, former Governorship Aspirant 2023, and the immediate past Executive Chairman of NSUPEB, Dr. GOC Aja, MNI. Your Excellency, may I equally inform you that we have the presence of the Archbishop of Methodist Church of Nigeria, Enugu Ecclesiastical Province, Archbishop Christopher Ede, and the Bishop of Akabugu, Bishop Jesse Oje. Thank you. May we relax and hear from the youngest and the smart and vibrant neurosurgeon. Thank you.
Just continue. Wait a minute. Huh? Go and load it. Go and load the presentation to come to the screen. His Excellency, the Governor of Enugu State, ably represented by one of our own, the Commissioner for Water Resources. My own Vice Chancellor, the chairman of this occasion, principal officers of the university, past inaugural lecturers, the deans, directors, professors, and other academia, the Speaker of Enugu State Office Assembly, members of the council, the traditional rulers, my lords, spiritual and temporal. Permit me to also recognize my mentors that are present here, Professor Kanu Kangineme and Emeritus Professor Samuel Oheblam. I think the day is a day for academia, as well as former Vice Chancellor Luka Nike and other former Vice Chancellors, our Provost in the College of Medicine, former Provosts, Honorable Commissioners, traditional rulers, my own chairman, mayor, my friends from all walks of life, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on the protocol that has been established. I may not be able to get it right, but you understand I'm a young professor, so I may not know everything. Can I start the lecture? Please keep it here. Today we are discussing a topic that is very germane to the future of medicine in Nigeria. And that's why we've chosen to present this topic, looking at the paralysis paradox in our medical system. I want us to gain time so that we don't stay the whole day here. But before we start this lecture, I want to remember my grandmom, who I lived with for more than 3 years at my prime age. She prayed so much for me, and I think the prayers have finally matured. I don't have any conflict of interest, but I have to recognize all the institutions that made me what I've become today. In one way or the other, I'm not going to mention names. Where is this slide? I'm not going to mention names. But permit me to remember Central School Agobowa, where my humble beginning started as a primary school boy. That's why the Igwe of Ezeago is here. So today, our learning objectives are to reorientate our attention to some essential but neglected details we need to preserve our nervous system. We also try to ignite ideas needed for the change in medical system that we all yearn for. And we'll go home chewing the cord on how the research knowledge we've generated over the years could be harnessed to achieve quality health care and economic liberation for our society. This lecture will be under these outlines. And Professor I'll try to be as short as possible. But if I overshoot, don't shoot me down. For those who don't know, Inaugural lectures are intended to connect the town and gown so that all the things we know in the university setting could be carried over to the community and industry sectors, people in day-to-day work of life could utilize them to solve problems in the wider society. That is the essence of research. And I know our own Vice Chancellor has done so much to make sure that this is achieved. But how did we arrive at today's topic in the first place? I will take you through a journey. Neurosurgery has struggled in Nigeria as a specialty. In fact, probably the only specialty in the head that is still a subunit in surgery. Others have become a full faculty and department in their own right. My mentor, the ophthalmologist, is laughing at me because she knows what I'm saying. And this is on the background that people don't prioritize healthcare in this country. I think government to an extent as well. And this has created serious problem, evidenced by the poor caseloads we manage in the hospitals, poor volumes of surgeries done in the public hospitals, and poor outcomes sometimes in the cases we manage. At the center of this is poor funding, coupled with infrastructure capacity. So we often hear ourselves saying services are paralytic. It's because the system is getting what? Paralyzed. It's not only the nervous system that gets paralyzed. We can say that many neurosurgical units in Nigeria are in coma. Coma is a type of paralysis when it affects the brain. Despite the manpower potentials. So Nigeria as giant of Africa, neurosurgery as a giant of medical practice in Nigeria is still paralyzed and in coma. But we have to start asking ourselves, where is the problem coming from? Is it just the actual paralysis of the nervous system which we treat every day? Are there other more hidden things that contribute to the outcome of these cases we manage? Unlike other fields, time is brain and time is spinal cord. The more time we wait and spend in assessing care in our environment, the more patients' conditions worsen and the more unlikely good outcome of those interventions will be achieved. In one way or the other, all of us seated here and outside have contributed deliberately to this problem. Through myths, many of us believe that convulsions can never be cured, not under one gene anywhere. These are the things making people difficult to access quality care. And no matter how you preach it, that sticks. So where really is our problem coming from? Is it just in our brains and nervous systems? Is it in our mindsets? What will transfer from generation to generation? Is it in our way we improvise as doctors, trying to make sure that we catch the ends in absence of proper equipment for delivery of quality service? Is it in funding? All these are the problems contributing to paralysis in the nervous system and the medical system. But we are not here to trade blames today. We are here to awaken the sleeping giants and think of how to start igniting progress. I think prevention is the key. If we have this attitude of prevention in medical system and prevention in our bigger society, then the problem must have been solved. So this lecture will be in two segments. One segment will address nervous system paralysis, and the second segment will address paralysis in our medical system. I don't want to bore you with definition of terms. We know what all these things mean. But suffice to say that our medical system is that prevailing social or political order that dictates how things go. The medical is in brackets because you can be the best medical doctor, but it might not do so much for the society. Because na aka nri kwa aka ekpe mee gịnị kwa aka nri. Prevention is the act of stopping something from happening or stopping someone from doing something, either good or bad. If we want neurosurgery to develop in Nigeria, we have to start thinking of early detection of problems before they become difficult to manage. Makana is no up upon me. So, this nervous system we talk about, what is it? Please, this system is lagging. Just understand that the brain is like the generator in your house. The spinal cord is like the wire that takes information from one point to the other. And the hands, the legs, the eyes are the bulbs that light up in the house. So, if the brain fails to generate current, what is likely to happen? There will not be light. So the hands will not do what? Move. That is paralysis. And if the spinal cord also fails to generate and transmit information, the hand will not still do what? Move. That is still what? Paralysis. So let us stop thinking that the problem is in how the hand is weak. The problem is hidden in the brain and the spinal cord. Now, we all hear about the spine, but I want to let you know that the spine goes beyond what we see as the bone. What is more important is that spinal cord inside that spine. It is very delicate. It has to be guarded with all energy and power possible. So, when the spine fails to do its job and has problem, the spinal cord will not function and the patient will become paralyzed. As we can see from this picture, brain has generated the information, and unlike the first image, it is stuck there because something has cut. And that thing that cuts will no more allow information to move. That hand that moved before will no more move. That is paralysis. You have to understand now that our system, medical system, behaves the same because it takes a complex, carefully organized sequence to make things to work perfectly. Another thing we have to bear in mind going into this lecture today is that the spine we are talking about is like the egg we have in the house. The yolk is at the center. That is the spinal cord. And in the picture we have next to it, the yolk is at the black thing is the center. The black is the center. Then around the spine, the yolk is water, which is also the same white line surrounding the central area that we have. That is also what gives bathing and nourishment to the spine. So the lesser this water within the egg surrounding the yolk, the more likely that egg yolk will not develop and will not survive long enough. That is how the CSF protects our nervous system. Then the eggshell itself is the bone, the spine, around these two structures giving protection. We'll keep making references to these images as we go ahead. But let's discuss briefly about my journey to becoming a neurosurgeon. What were my observations? I think our system does not have active projection of future workforce plan. I say so because we graduate young specialists without concrete plan of how to employ them strategically and how to equip hospitals where they will work for optimal utilization of their skill. This is abnormal for a system that wants to develop. I also think that our system has not shown regards enough for promotion of excellence in the bigger system. So people graduate, even when there are vacancy positions, they insist that there's embargo on employment. So experts will not be employed. Why wouldn't they JAPA eventually? I know at least 4 young consultants that waited to be employed in the system for 2 years after graduation. And they said they didn't have to go to all the quarters. They are all abroad now. So these are the things we need to start changing the system. The international training is still a big luxury, despite that being a core recommendation for neurosurgery training and cardiothoracic training in Nigeria. Residents are left to their own fate to identify where they will train. How can our medical system prevent this paralysis that is impending if we don't change this mindset and attitude? Mr. Vice Chancellor, I want us to pay attention to the fact that neurosurgery is a business. It's not only about treating people. And the governor needs to know as well that emphasis has gone so much into making neurosurgical practice a big commercial venture internationally. In Japan, for example, they've trained and developed 7,500 neurosurgeons working for their country. Nigeria is still struggling with 160, dead, alive, Japan, everything together. What does this number do? It helps to create jobs that runs the economy. A well-run neurosurgical service will be able to address some of the staring challenges in the international medical market and mop up millions of the unmet gap in access to any care to neurosurgery. One wonders why we cannot achieve this in a big country like Nigeria. The answer is in this slide. Until we start prioritizing measures to mop up these 5 million neurosurgeons, 5 million neurosurgical cases that have not been attended to in low and medium income countries, the society may not tap into the economic potentials of neurosurgery. So it's an investment lying dormant, and the whites are tapping into that from international tourism. That has to change. Should Nigeria prioritize a universal health coverage model? I think yes. Because without that, it's been projected that by year 2030, we will experience at least $12.3 trillion loss in economic productivity if medical care is not properly harnessed in our country. Before we get into the meat of the matter, let me pay due accolades to those that develop neurosurgery in Nigeria. Today with us here is Professor Samuel Ohebula, my trainer in neurosurgery. He opened up the service in UNTH in 1974. Later supported by Professor Wilfred Mezue. I think he must be around as well. These are the people that trained me in neurosurgery. In Enugu State, Dr. Chimaroke Ndamani, I wish to recognize him today because he took the bull by the horns as a doctor who understands what's involved to start off the Institute Medical School that we are celebrating today. And it's out of that that I had the opportunity to become a professor in Enugu and also to birth the neurosurgery unit in the Institute College of Medicine. Internationally, inventions have made sure that safety have been guaranteed in neurosurgery. Sorry, the slide is not as clear as good as I thought, but you can observe that all these equipment listed here are also available in the country. It's just asking questions where you can get them. And you can see how neat the brain is from these endoscopes. These are not imported pictures. These were surgeries that we have done. So we are saying that neurosurgery can perform better as it is abroad if proper things are what done. But 5 decades later, we still struggle in the public sector because of poor investment into state-of-the-art equipment. Now, budget defense is on. I think it's also opportunity to understand how to prioritize and reprioritize. And then investment into innovative research. Because when we don't invest into innovative research, it creates a second tragedy. Because doctors over the years have tried to use stopgap improvisations to address problems. But these have not been tried, tested, developed to a capacity that will guarantee safety and make it marketable internationally. All the medical equipment we import abroad at very expensive rates are people's innovations and research. They didn't fall from the moon. And so, we keep depending on imported equipment. I said over-dependence for what we cannot even ordinarily have needed. This is why our clinical services are still epileptic. But I think the sun will rise from the east. Let us start addressing the meat of the matter. What are the preventable or treatable diseases causing our neurosurgical diseases? We are not going to our system yet, so that we don't distract our thinking process. First of all, we ask ourselves, how serious are the diseases causing nervous system paralysis in our region? Because we don't know, we tend not to prioritize it. Research has shown that 5 million neurosurgical patients are yet to be operated on in West Africa. This is staggering. Even if you charge 100,000 per case for that, you are going to get how many trillions of naira? That is the economic revamper. And the investment we've shown is not as massive as people think. We've also seen in 2009 that from data released by WHO, almost 7 million patients died from neurosurgical diseases in that year alone. This is more than the deaths from cancer, malaria, tuberculosis combined together. So we start asking epidemiologists, why are we not prioritizing neurosurgery? People are dying every day from neurosurgery-related problems, as we'll highlight shortly. And we've accepted them. We're under the impression that it's not in our family. Oh, my village in Emia is not my portion. Yet, we are dying day by day. And nobody lives to tell the story of why he died. You will only hear family members gossiping that, no, in our village, Emegene. So, what is responsible for this change in pattern of neurosurgical diseases? Is it actually because there are more equipment to make diagnosis in the country? Or is it because our lifestyle is changing? And because of that, our move towards westernization is also attracting diseases that are more prevalent in Western communities. Our research team is thinking that the second option might be the reason. That was why this article looked at that. Because before, we were not seeing aneurysms. Aneurysm is okerembawishi that causes burst of pipes in the brain and results in people bleeding in the brain and dying suddenly. In fact, from research, half do not get to hospital alive. But what did we see? We are suddenly seeing that frequency increasing in our society. My mentor believes it's because of more MRI in the hospital and CT scans. But I think there is more to it. That was what this article was addressing. So let's start thinking outside the box to know that those diseases we think we are not there before are now here. We all talk about spondylosis. Spondylosis. Again, about the spondylosis. I'm going to arthritis of the back of the spine bone. That is what it is. Just like ACM arthritis in the knee and other parts of the body. But why is that of the spine more dangerous? It's dangerous because when it happens, it can encroach in the space where the nerves stay. We've just shown before that the nerve and spinal cord are inside the spine that we are talking about. So like in this picture, you people are lagging behind. Like in this picture, sorry, it's not very clear again. The young person, there are shock absorbers between each bone. This is shock absorber, shock absorber, shock absorber, shock absorber between each bone. It's still white in this person. But in this person, it's become dark. And the spine bones that have good shapes have also changed shape to bad shapes. What is happening? That is the wear and tear change that is taking place. And that is spondylosis. But how will it manifest? Initially, oh, Edina Jimonu, most people call me Dr. Edina Jimonu. You know, Edina John, is that the first day I started sleeping in that room? You know, so it shouldn't be. So that is an opportunity to test the neck and be sure nothing like this is doing what? Happening. From there, NGD phone or DGD one sign a signature, same sign there again. People ignore it. Then suddenly, when it gets to this stage, ABM was a bottleneck. The spinal cord now has been involved. What do you think will happen now? The person will become what? Paralyzed. Did it start overnight? That is how also the medical paralysis in our system has gradually progressed. So, before a raw stage of this paralysis, and our doctors didn't do anything for me. 5 years had done what? Had passed. What about brain tumors? So, come let us review you. That thing in circle there is a tumor that I measured at 6 centimeters in the widest dimension, sitting in the brain. What about it? Wherever it occupies, brain is a generator. So that part of the brain will no more do what? Generate. So gradually, the person will start having what? Paralysis. But some of them will have headache. Commonest cause of headache in our society is stress. Please, until you confirm that it's not a medical problem, don't call it what? Stress. It is when you've been examined that you will now say, I'm very helpful. So, stress. So, don't let us get to that point where headache will progress, convulsion will happen for a long time, people don't take it serious, and then gradually the hand starts failing, we don't still take it serious. Some people's sights are going down, 1 year, 2 years, 3 months to the finishing of the little nerve remaining. You come and say, do miracle. We are not Jesus. But we've seen also that the incidence of brain cancers in our society is increasing. So that calls for serious effort for everybody to check and be sure that all are what? Okay. What about stroke? The more common type of stroke that is becoming a problem is the one that suddenly the pipe will burst. That is that balloon we are talking about here. If you look at it there, this is post-surgery we've done. You know, there's something that's looking like a balloon here that this clip has plugged. So that was a time bomb waiting to do what? Explode. And the person will be alive and healthy. And I don't know about pass it out, police will carry on and get into harass about the person. To avoid those problems, do what? Check. Because the brain is covered by a thick skull. So also the spine. So unlike breast problems and hand and leg problems, you won't see those things physically present. And that's what spinal cord tumors. Spinal cord tumors have done their own burden. We now see so many people paralyzed before they come to hospital. And the only way to identify this problem is when you do MRI. There is no guesswork that will give you this answer. Even if my own professor here, who is more than 50 years a professor, examines you, if he hasn't done MRI, he won't do what? He won't confirm the problem. That is why neurosurgery practice is largely dependent on equipment base of that center. Now, the other problem causing the real burden of paralysis is accidents, brain injury, spinal cord injury. There is no day in Enugu that somebody will not have accidents and that people will not fall from a mango tree, and all of them will be brought to where? Hospital. Have we asked ourselves how eventually they end up? This is killing more people, even though we neglect it. How many people die of Ebola in a year? How many people have COVID killed in a year? And yet billions are pumped into those areas of care. We are thinking, injury every day. Spondylosis every day. Epilepsy every day. Let us start prioritizing them as it should be. Sorry, I'm rushing. So I don't want to be citing the works we've done on this. So we are beginning to think that environmental factors, dietary factors, and genetic factors play a lot of roles in this emerging nature of neurosurgical diseases in our environment. Let's come down to the spine. How will we prevent spine-related paralysis? Spine starts from the neck down to the uku. From our little research, we will remind you how nature made the spine to be again. Remember the eggshell we discussed before. Now, if you look at research critically, this thing at the center is the spinal cord. And that's what we've aligned to this same animation. The white thing around it are the water that nature used to nourish it. That's the same white here in the MRI. We have to do animation because people might think it's abstract. That's why we have to go that direction. And then these things are the bones, the spine themselves that nature used to protect. The same thing up there. Cut like this. This is the spinal cord, the water space, the bone. The same as it is there. So, what then happens when there is a problem? The person in the first picture is the way nature made the spine. The person in the middle picture now had a spinal cord injury. They were traveling and had an accident. But you can see, if you look critically, her natural space where the spinal cord lives in the spine is 11 millimeter. When this accident happened, that area that got injured, the space reduced to 7 millimeter. So what happened? The 4 millimeter shield she had before did what? Protected the spine. So that the injured bone and disc did not hurt her. So she came to hospital only with neck pain. Assuming she knew she had this predisposition before, she would have traveled with a collar, a strong neck collar on, so that this impact will not be transmitted as much as. But she's lucky. What of the person in the next picture, where that had been narrowed down to 4 millimeter without an accident already? So if he had a small whiplash injury, remember he will wake up in the morning normal, and maybe somebody hits him from the back. What will now happen? He will suddenly become what? Paralyzed. Because once he extends the neck, suddenly he will become paralyzed. That is what we see. Or the person trips in the bathroom or falls, or the person is wearing these fine shoes women and men wear now, doesn't have sole. What will happen? There and then, that fall, because already there's no water shielding the bone, what will happen? The bone will touch directly on the spinal cord and the person will have injury. So based on this understanding now, you now know how spinal injuries occur. You can see from this image. From this image, you can observe that, see what will happen at that area. At that point, spinal cord injury had occurred. The bone got what? Pushed into the spinal cord. That is what happened here. And when it pushed in, it made that spinal cord, it made contact with it. The more the water space there, the less likely this will happen. But as we age, the water space keeps going down. So when this injury happens, from that place of injury down, network will no more do what? Pass. But this second one is probably the more dangerous one. What happens in this case is that you see that level where I drew a circle, wear and tear change will start happening over time. Here, shock absorber is lost. Gradually, the spinal cord space there is narrowed. You keep having small injury to the spinal cord over days, until one day it becomes a lot more serious at that point. What will still happen? Spinal cord paralysis. This second one will not come with accident. It might just come with somebody living his normal life. Because over time, wear and tear changes have damaged the shock absorbers in the spine to the extent that they are now encroaching into where nerves should be. So our research in this direction went into how to identify young, healthy people who don't have this problem, but who have some risk of developing this problem. Because if they now know, they can take measures to do what? Prevent them. So we had to do this because to treat a spinal cord injured patient in this country, you need at least $12,000 US. That is what it is. Forget about what we do in cut corners. For you to do it properly, that's what it's likely to need. Because by right, that person should have been ferried from where that injury occurred by a helicopter, so I can have a surgery done within 4 hours of that event. That is what it should be. It shouldn't be that 4 days, 5 days down the line, I can't put it on Ogu. I tell you about MRI. MRI. That is absolute waste of time. And because of that, most of our patients present on wheelchair. And this has made society believe that surgery in spinal cord is a death sentence. It is not. Because many people seated here, patients who've operated on, that became my friends because they had a good outcome from spinal cord surgery procedures. So, we proposed an MRI-based screening procedure to detect people at risk of spinal cord injury. And this is based on that simple anatomy and thoughts that the more exuberant the space of that water, the more likely spinal cord is what? Shielded from injury. So permit me to share the results we got. The first was on this study. Space available for the cord. It was published in Korea Journal of Spine. And what did we find in this study? We found that our people have very high predisposition to spinal cord injury by birth. Let me show you why. And the smaller that space, the more likely injury will occur, especially at C4, 5, C5, 6 level. Remember the egg and the eggshell story again. So what did we find? What we found is that that water space we called sac. You can see how it will change from people living in Croatia, see how big theirs is. Compared to those who are living in US, it's smaller, but still big enough. Compared with those living in Japan, it's further shrunken, but still manageable. And that is the same size we are getting for Nigerian population. So that means that is not the sort of risk behavior that a Croatian undertakes, as a Nigeria should do what? Undertake. Makana oke na ngwere manya na mmiri. Mmiri gbakọ oke. O nwere ka mgbakọ ngwere. Mgbakọ ngwere. Thank you. At least you are listening. So when you want to go to Olympics to do stunts, make sure your spinal cord space has enough water to absorb it. And that's why we invited Ministry of Sports to this presentation and the university community in the sports area, because these are low-hanging fruits that people can take away and know what we are talking about. The next study was about the impact. We're now start looking at what other risk factors may further worsen this risk. Nigerians' space is already tiny. Are there day-to-day behaviors that worsen it? And what we found was a bit worrisome. This paper was published in the World Neurosurgery Journal. And we found that participating in leisure football activity, ball mbacharo, I know about 3 times a week for a long time, has a way of gradually killing the shock absorber in that neck and brings you to that level of disposition as you age. So from year 40, this problem, you are likely to have this problem more than others. And this is what supports it. You know, you can see that in this group, by the time they are 20-30, both the shock absorbers are still greenish in color, and the water space around both areas are good enough. But one group is playing sports, the other group is not playing what? Sports. Contact sports. And as years moved on, by the time they got to 31 to 40, did you notice any change? Yes. The color of the disc started doing what? Changing from what it was before. That is the wear and tear change we are talking about. That is the precursor to pressure on the what? Nerves. And what happened eventually? You will see that the water around this spinal cord has further done what? Shrunken. Both for the people who are not playing sports and those who are. But it's more in this population. And then by the time the person, that same group, after 40 years, the story is much worse. Because by the time they get 41 to 50, which I think that's where half of us here are, it's more obvious that those who play sports will have more risk. So if this person falls down now, he may likely have spinal cord injury compared to the other person. So why should this be? So how we explained it was because repeatedly you keep nodding your head. Keep nodding your head. As you are nodding and using the shock absorber, what is happening to it? You are using it like you know, and they change the shock every day. But now people are no more complaining about changing their shock absorbers. So what will happen? The shock will age faster than the other person. And from that, it will start encroaching more into where the nerves will do what? Live. So one should be careful. Mandina are not the ball anyhow every day. Ninema banturare, ndi jishe jije. Then I will go for Yana Botua. You know, in Abata, the shock is taking that shock, the shock is absorbing that shock, but it is at a what cost? We found that age has an effect on the space available for the spinal cord. It is no more an argument from this lecture because we've seen evidence to support that. But suffice it to say that in the image on my right hand, at year 20 to 25, the mean space for this nerve was 5 millimeters. But as one got to 45 to 50 years, the mean space drops to 3.5 millimeters. So you see, day by day, the risk is doing what? Increasing without knowing. There is even a level where we got 2.97 millimeters. You know, sorry, the image is not as we envisaged. Sorry about that. So, This paper was published in our own Journal of Experimental Research in ESUT. So it's not only international that you publish, you do everywhere. So, to illustrate that, Professor Niveze is smiling. To illustrate that, you can see that water space again, this is lagging. So between year 20 and 30 years, you will observe that the water space was more exuberant. As you get to 31 to 40 years, it starts doing what? Thinning down. And that's why it gets from 41 to 50 years. It further does what? Thins down. So don't believe that the risk in a 20-year-old is, in a 50-year-old is the same as somebody that is 20 years. All of us here should start thinking of how to start screening the spinal cord to be sure that we don't have any of these problems. Remember, my emphasis is that you might be walking about healthy, but something is already dangerous. So, we now did another study to predict the value of MRI, how it can assess this level of risk to spinal cord injury. A simple study. The people on the first column had spinal cord injury at the time we measured their space available for the cord. People on the other column were normal people without spinal cord injury that walked in for routine scans. But what we observed will shock you. You can see that the images in red, people with spinal cord injury had half the space that those that don't have spinal cord injury did have. So that shows you in retrospect that there was already something that was doing increasing that risk. If that person had done this test ab initio, maybe he may have told the driver, stop speeding, or let me change my vehicle. I must, even though I paid you 5,000, I can drop down and get another vehicle. Because when the injury occurs, recovery is often difficult. But more importantly, we now found that using analytical statistics, that the MRI has 95 to 98% possibility of predicting risk of spinal cord injury at these areas that have a very high disposition. So that shows that if you adopt doing MRI routinely from time to time, the way they now do abroad for some other investigations, the way you check your blood sugar from time to time, the way you check your PSA from time to time, that you may be saving the society very serious problem. Because when injury occurs to any of the people here, you are the cream la cream of society. What do you think will happen? Government has lost, society has lost, you won't work again, family has lost. So it's not about the cost of the MRI, it's about seeing that something could be done to detect the level of risk. And that study also showed that as people get older as well, the spinal cord size starts shrinking in size. What this implies is that just like brain also undergoes shrinkage, the spinal cord also does does that. So, if you remember the young, the old, I can give you the shake, because that is the explanation for that. So from this, we pushed in towards looking for innovations that can help improve our dangerously narrowed space for the spinal cord for our population. Because we've seen it's a peculiar problem in our society. The whites are not addressing it because they have more capacious space. So it's something that we have to find our own solutions to. And this is His Excellency. This is where investing in research makes sense. Because swallowing everything from international community, hook, line, and sinker may not necessarily apply to your own circumstance. When we start developing research that is homegrown innovations, then we can achieve what our population needs for healthcare recovery. So, my mentor here led this research on modified laminoplasty for degenerative spine diseases. Why did we go into doing this study. And by the way, we've registered this as a trademark with the federal government, and it's undergoing further processing. Because the reason is that many of the options available for this surgery internationally depend on a lot of implant materials that are very expensive locally. So our people are not likely to afford that. So what we did to improve this space, this is what they do internationally. What we did to improve this space was to go through a small procedure. You will see from here that a drill was used to do, this thing is lagging my own image, I don't know why. That a drill was used to make gentle fractures along certain lines of the bone. And after that, drilling was done, we pushed back the posterior half of the spine bone. What that did was to create more space. And then we used special wires called sutures to hold them to a strong ligament at the back. If you hold it in place, these white things you are seeing are new bones that will form in between those fractured lines that have been separated. And when they form eventually, they will now join the way fracture lines heal in orthopedics. They will now join, be imbibed, and over time mature, change color, and mature as the rest of the bone is, and strength is regained. So in this way, we are achieving good results with this surgery and at a very affordable cost for our society. These things call for further inquiry on how to improve on them. The second we did in the same spine is the modified hemilaminectomy. This is already an existing procedure. What we did, because we have peculiar problem in our society of needing more space, was to modify it a bit to increase the room. And this is achieved in a cost-saving way with less risk of adjacent level stenosis. You see, before surgery, this person had a very tiny water space around the nerves. And the same procedure almost on the same side. And then space is created, but that is not all. We now use an upcut punch, that is the instrument you are seeing there, to nibble off the under part of this base of spinous process. So in that case, you now achieve a room that's almost the whole of there. And that helps the spinal cord that was initially under pressure here to float back, gaining more space for the nerves. Secured as well without need for implants. We've already This is a practical surgery session of this. That white thing you're seeing is the spinal cord. Surgery is already done. I see how the spinal cord had now pushed its way backwards into a big space. And after this surgery, we compared one of the images. Some will say it's a beautiful image, but you see that before the surgery in this patient, please next slide. Before the surgery in this patient, see how from here to here did not have water. You know, but after the surgery, the water space got restored. So this is practical, that works. That's what our research team is trying to propose more and more to people in society, to start seeing that we can do our own things our own way without over-reliance on international technology. It's only that we need to be supported to think straight beyond salaries. So who benefits from this surgery? Many people that had weakened bone that cannot accept, he has come, implants. Patients with serious financial problems, and so on and so forth. So it has become our procedure of choice for many borderline instabilities, and we've been able to avoid use of implants with this surgery. What of in the brain? Because time is going, we'll shorten here. Brain tumor. What our research has found that worries us, truly worries us, is that we are having more aggressive tumors coming from Niger Delta area. We don't know why. This is speculation. But I think why we are voicing this out is that there needs to be more research studies into possible gene mutation issue going on with this. But note that even children are affected by brain tumors. It's not an issue of elderly persons. What about strokes? I've said before that we are seeing more and more of the strokes that come from bleeding, hemorrhagic strokes. Those pipes are pipes taking blood to the brain. Blood is flowing, blood is flowing, blood is flowing. Over time, you will observe that the pipe starts getting weak and weaker at this local point. And as it's getting weaker, what will happen? It suddenly does what? Burst. When it bursts and this amount of blood flows into the brain, will the person survive? No. That's why many of them, when they've bled, they cannot get to hospital what? Alive. So the hallmark should be to start checking yourself up to know when you are already at the risk of this what? Problem. Because early intervention in terms of that effort will aid to prevent this problem from occurring. And what happens over time? That whole area affected, even if the patient survives, will turn to what? Black. The area is dead. What worries us specifically about this hemorrhagic stroke is that in our society, unlike international community, more and more young people are being affected. Our median age of hemorrhagic stroke is 10 years younger than in the international community. So that is worrisome. And we think it may have a relationship with hypertension and diabetes. Just like our chair, that one is for another day. We've done a few studies when I was abroad about eloquent area prediction and functional neurosurgery. You know, these ones were all local studies, but because of time we'll run. But this one is important because this patient will have to publish it. Please, we have to publish the study because we are seeing this sort of tumor now in our environment that wasn't there before. There are multiple sclerosis. Go ahead, next slide. Multiple sclerosis. Please allow me to manage this from here. There are multiple sclerosis that are managed by medical neurologists with drugs. But this time around now, these ones come as big as, please, next slide. This one comes as big tumors. And you may go and operate before you find out it is not. So we are drawing attention to this, that our colleagues will know. Let us happen paralysis in our medical system. I hope I haven't confused you people. This one is now a social discussion. The Vice Chancellor. The first problem in our medical system is our mindset. Typical example is issue of conversion, as I've said earlier. A lot of social, cultural, and religious myths cause delay in early presentation. My parents here understood that early because I had childhood seizures, but today I'm treating seizure patients. So that shows you that if medicine is properly tailored, results could be what? Achieved. Thank you, Daddy. But why do myths have dominant influence in our nervous system? It's because of poor knowledge of how diseases occur. Because if you understand how diseases occur, you are likely to cooperate with doctors in line of how it should be what managed. Professor Chika Anele here pioneered this book called Pathophysiology of Clinical Signs and Symptoms, which we contributed chapters to. And the aim was to move medical students' attention in learning from cramming towards reasoning-based decision-making. And I'm the early product of that clinical thinking competence. So, every fever is not malaria. Do we understand that? Now, there are a lot of respiratory tract infections on air. What do we all call it? Malaria. Which drug will you take? Malaria drug. Which one should you have taken? Maybe antibiotics for the respiratory infection. So why won't the person die? Do you understand it? All right. The other problem is non-proper patient investigation. I will tell a small story. So I will start cutting corners as patients. Because I often argue with my wife. She will say, it's doctors. I say, no. If the people have phones, they browse about the car they want to buy. They browse about the clothes they want to buy. They browse about where they want to go on holiday. They can never browse who is doctor managing eye problem. Or for the muscles, yeah, doc. I'm Musuwanya. So, a story. The young promise, who was a master's degree student, who died about 3 months ago, had been managed 3 times for meningitis in the past 1 year in 3 different states of the country, and never had brain scan done. Remember, he had been given very expensive antibiotics. 2 days before he died, he came to our service. MRI in Kitty showed a massive tumor around the medulla oblongata, a very advanced tumor. So the whole promise wasted. What about this second lady? Very lucky, I called her Miss Lucky. Because after childbirth, she was having back pain for 2 years. X-ray. You know, X-ray doesn't see early bone diseases. I'm saying this so that you know your rights and insist on what needs to be done. Stop looking at money. Do proper investigation so that your problem can be identified early. So when we did CT and MRI 2 years later, we saw something here. You might not see, but the color here is different from the color here. And that drew attention. Later did a CT guided biopsy, sent it abroad for special tests, and it came out that she had blood vessel cancer, bone cell cancer, which is getting chemotherapy for now. So maybe if nothing was done, by the next 6 months, she may have done what? And nobody will know that a treatable problem did what? Killed her. Why should they also be properly investigated? This patient here was already scheduled for surgery somewhere in the country. And he walked into our service. When we reviewed him, we thought what he had required more of blood vessel disease, even though there was a spine problem in that scan. It took us long to convince him that we ourselves will not do surgery. And that since he came for a second opinion, he can go back to the expert who was treating him. Reluctantly, he did a blood vessel study. And what we found was that the blood pipe taking blood to the lower legs were blocked. So when he takes a small walk, what happens? Starts having cramps. So now we've transferred him to the vascular surgeons to do their own treatment. Did we do the spine surgery? No. So we are talking about proper patient investigation. The other problem affecting our medicine. So these ones are all related to us. Have I mentioned government here now? No. The other problem is late presentation. Time is brain. And time is spinal cord. We have capacity in this country to manage strokes within 4 to 6 hours if they present early. Only a few people have benefited from this treatment. Because I get around the country before I'm making it. But what is involved? What is involved is to eventually block off. You see that gradually, this is how ischemic stroke occurs. Something has done what? Blocked blood flow. The other side is still flowing very well. And when it blocks, blood cannot do what? Flow anymore. That part of the brain will do what? Die. So if you can do something, there are drugs and medical services available to remove this blockage early, before the brain does what? Dies. Because when the brain dies, whatever you do that time is now a waste of what? Time. But in the first place, one should start thinking of early prevention to avoid this blood clotting doing what? Gathering. Because preventing the gathering will help to prevent. Well, we're not overburdening you with diagnosis, but I will tell you that unregulated improvisation is causing serious problem in our medical system. That is what is driving internal medical tourism from public hospitals to private hospitals. Because everybody wants the best for his own what. So government should start thinking of how to circumvent this, because we need to start getting the quality of care that are needed in public hospitals. Obviously, majority poor at the receiving end of this problem. Because even when they struggle to get investigated, they still have a second challenge of doing what? Being able to get treatment for the high-end diseases. Remember that 5 million people are awaiting surgery in our region. So, I think that government and investors should start thinking of this economic potential in well-articulated neurosurgical practice. That is an economic booster. Let's go to the solutions. Have we moved the frontiers forward? Definitely, yes, we have. And we've developed a means. Should I stop? We've developed a means of how to screen patients that are at risk of spinal cord injuries. We popularize some spine preserving procedures. And more neurosurgeons have been trained in the country. Credit to our mentors that did all those. More complex neurosurgery procedures are being done in the country now as well. And I think the sun is beginning to rise. Even in our young institution in Estate here, we are appealing to government to show a little bit of more commitment towards improving the equipment gap, so our quality of service in this center can also improve. We've seen from today's discussion that the clinical side of the health sector has a big role to play on the road to increasing our GDP from $4.4 billion to $30 billion. So if neurosurgery is properly prioritized, as well as other clinical healthcare services, we can mop in and mop up a lot of surgeries that are waiting to be done. And government will benefit from that. Hospitals will benefit from that. We need to improve access to quality of care to reverse medical tourism. I strongly appeal that we look into improving the referral chain and strengthening the ambulance service in the country. This will help to both drive healthcare access to the grassroots. But this must be tied to improving access to funds. How can we achieve this? It is not the size of the hospital that makes a hospital. What makes a hospital is the equipment base of that hospital. And those who advise policymakers should start thinking in this direction. I think we need to start emphasizing more, beefing up our equipment base and building more compact hospital system, because that will help to reduce the operational costs and overhead costs in most of these hospitals and help that more will be achieved. Collaboration is another essential thing to do. We don't need to overflog that, but today I'm happy that the Vice Chancellor of Memphis Hospital signed a collaboration in the area of clinical neurosciences. The ceremony was performed just before this inaugural lecture. So I think it's time for private sector to start thinking of how to collaborate with government to create a more robust medical service. Because people have the funds. It's just knowledge of where to and how to invest them so that things will move forward. But more importantly, society will be developed. We were appealing that we need to start to be treated like a food department, because that will help us to get our own budget, help us to source our own equipment. You know, it's a small but necessary step in helping neurosurgery to grow in Nigeria. And this one, the university and the hospital can do that. This will fast-track development under the area. I thank the governor for the special tax levy that has been launched, passed by the law and launched for sports development in the state. On a larger scale, this fits very well into the health insurance service that the country has been yearning for. Because compulsory health insurance will generate higher volume and help in sustainable healthcare financing for our medical services. One other thing is that neurosurgery needs to be accommodated in this health insurance plan. For now, the coverage is poor. So we appeal that this has to be looked into strongly. As I round up, research funds are the center of the problem. Let me remind His Excellency that, and those in TED Fund, that every clinician is not a lecturer. Clinical research has a lot to do with generating ideas that can help solve clinical problems as well. There is no direct funding available for clinical research in the country. So those that work in the hospital struggle on how to do researches. But it's not just about appraisal, it's also about how to solve bigger problems in society. So I appeal for this. And in this regard, I strongly feel that if we start enjoying chairs in specialties, it might help to focus and narrow the researches in the right directions to solve clinical problems. As an uncle, it's time we start thinking in words. Because we can improvise much better than people are doing abroad. My own experience has shown that we have engineers here who can do so much. The Etu Center of Excellence is already gearing towards sustainable way of reverse engineering as well. You know, this is important. Medicine is the big hub that should take that hand immediately. So we're already collaborating with other specialties and lobbying for conscious investments into high quality medical research. My future research targets, ladies and gentlemen, what worries me now is how do we start patenting medical implants and the equipment for the sub-Saharan African market? Because when we start achieving this, the cost of this equipment will drop. Availability will be more. Access to healthcare will improve. Government can now have the capacity to put suction machine in each bed in the hospital. Because everything comes down eventually to economics of Naira and Kobo. So I feel that is the way to go. And that is the direction I want to champion next in research. And I think this begs for assistance to raise the needed funds to set up endowments in neurosurgery. I wish to thank 2 or 3 people that have already started showing interest in this. Honorable Nolin Naji and Honorable Onwebu Omehuku. We've already talked to many people about this. And just in the past few weeks, it seems like we are getting people's attention and ear towards pushing research in these directions. So I beg all of us here to think the same way. At your own time, think how to support local innovations in neurosurgery. In conclusion, Mr. Vice Chancellor, His Excellency, prevention is the key. That is the take-home message. Avoid paralysis and other nerve deficits by all means. We've already emphasized that we have a huge unmet gap between demand for neurosurgical treatment and number accessing this care. This amounts to gross economic wastage, and we should start thinking of reversing it. We should make effort to carry out the recommended screening tests that experts have already told us to prevent risk of nerve diseases. We made a strong case for routine use of MRI as a reliable tool for screening people for their level of risk for spinal cord injury development. This is the key word in this lecture, because we demonstrated that this screening can prevent sudden paralysis of the spinal cord if we properly know the level of risk. It's time for Nigeria to start investing and tapping into the potential economic benefits of clinical neurosurgical research and a well-run neurosurgical service. We've shown that properly regulated improvisation and innovation will help to reduce the equipment deficit in the country and improve surgical load and capacity of quality of neurosurgical service. Despite all the challenges we've enumerated, I think neurosurgery in our sub-region has developed enough to reverse medical tourism. And we strongly recommend that it should be supported. Because and we recommend that people at all levels should take serious the full implementation of the mandatory health coverage. Let me leave you with these quotes. The only limit is the one we set for ourselves. And for us to make progress, we must actually get started. The key is for us to start thinking of how to take a step after chewing the cud in all we've discussed today. Because especially for innovation, it always seems impossible until it is done. Then you say, this simple thing, so I urge all of us, let us join hands to ignite the progress we need to grow neurosurgery in Nigeria through innovative research. His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, spare me some few minutes to acknowledge people. I've actually cut down this acknowledgement to the barest minimum because I knew the lecture would take time. Let me first of all thank the God Almighty. He has been our strength. Everything concerning my life, He has made possible. I'm very grateful to Him. Our Vice Chancellor, the talk and do Vice Chancellor, I thank you very much for this opportunity to present this lecture. I will thank the governor on another day. But let me thank him for at least sending somebody who listened to the lecture. And for the SSG, I saw him. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. Yeah. I think this is the essence of inaugural lecture. It's for us to understand one another and see where to channel energy in policy and decision making. I thank the University Inaugural Lecture Committee, headed by Professor Ezamenyi. Thank you for the extra time you gave me. The second, this thing was extra time. And those that supported this inaugural lecture in one way or the other. The Vice Chancellor has promised that he will spend another 1 hour here before leaving. I'm grateful to you for that. To my parents, Sir Nze Davis Chika Anele Ndubuisi and Lady Jenny Gebenti Ndubuisi, and all my siblings, thank you for the sacrifices to nurture, train, and mold my life. Now I understand everything. Permit me to thank late also Professor Chika Anele. You need men to become a man. What did I say? This man made my studying medicine possible. And I'm forever grateful to him for what he did at the time he did it. Let me thank Professor Kanu Kangineme, my mentor. I told somebody last week that, when you pass year 4 to year 5 medicine, you think you are now invincible. But at that time, he captured me and made me his follower. I didn't like him that time. Because the first day he came to class, I was not there. He sent for me. I almost peed on my knicker. But now I can say thank you for how you piloted my life at the most critical point. I appreciate it. Ajijia Muhammad supported my community development effort that gave me honors award in Gombe State. I thank him wherever he is now. And my aunts, Auntie Chemere and Auntie Kamaka, they are here. I choose to thank them because people who took care of you when you were young, beyond your parents, probably did a lot. I'm very grateful to both of them. This Dr. Izora was who treated my seizures. I've never met him as somebody I know. But wherever he is in the world, if he's still alive, let God bless him. All my teachers in primary and secondary school, they were a great source of inspiration. They went extra miles to inculcate right values beyond just academics in me. And my numerous trainers in medical school, in residency training, too numerous to mention. But let me mention Professor Mezue, Professor Chika Anele, Hongo, Nagashima, Horiichi, Goto, and many other people who saw me through. Professor Gujapo and Kere made sure I studied neurosurgery when I thought it was not a good course. And Dr. Amo, I don't know if he's here, used to coach me every day before I did my part 1 exam in surgery. So you don't just become successful. People must lead you to where you are going. I'm very grateful to all of you. But I will single out today again Emeritus Professor Samuel Ohebulam, seated here. I don't know how to thank him, but he mentored me beyond neurosurgery. And he gave me shoulders and took me like a son. I think I'm the highest beneficiary of his own life. Because what people are struggling to scatter all over the world to achieve, I've achieved in my backyard here. I treasure the invaluable gifts you've handed to me, and I will guard it. Use it for the good of society, and keep pushing for excellence in our region. Thank you, sir. Professor Luke Anike employed me at ESUT, together with Professor Mr. Leonard Kama and late Professor Gochuku. I accord them this accolade because they saw a talent which I didn't know. Then as a youngster, I wanted to go to Port Harcourt because I wanted to make money there. But they decided to retain me. Gochuku insisted by all means that I would not go back to Port Harcourt. Now I appreciate what they've done. And Dr. Njeze, who was CMD then, and Metron Ozonya, I don't know if they're here, but as a young boy who didn't know anything, they were really the people who set up the neurosurgery service. Let me thank all my colleagues, but particularly those that supervised me during house job. They are all here. I'm very grateful. I thank all of you. All of your names are here. Thank you very much. Thank you. For those who we haven't seen your name, we are still looking. And the past inaugural lecturers, including Professor Anibeza and Professor Okafo, the lecture became easier because some people had presented it earlier. I have so many mentors. I chose to use initials so that there won't be too much gap. As I said, I've compressed this lecture as much as I can. But I'm very grateful. One thing about it is that they don't even seek my permission to advise me. That is something I appreciate. Young men, you will think they are leading you wrongly, but eventually, after 3 years, you will see that if not for this man, this would have gone wrong. So I'm grateful to all of you. And to my numerous students, undergraduate, postgraduate, time will not permit us to say so much. I thank my numerous patients for helping to make me who I have become. Because any doctor who says he has never made mistake is lying. But people understand, and I thank all of you. I thank Mr. Stephen who handled the animation pictures. You did very well, and at almost a zero cost. Supported by Chika and my son, Chika Anele Ndubuisi. Thank you very much. My uncles and aunties, my friends from all walks of life. For want of time, let me not go into much. And my in-laws, because if I don't mention them, this lecture might. Thank you to my father and mother-in-law. Finally, I wish to thank my dear wife. I call her a former Neurosurgery River. Because if not for her, where would I have been? And Dojiva would have been in soup. She's the reason behind my peace of mind. I'm very grateful to you. I must thank my children. Chidiogo, they are all seated there. Chiamela, Chichedo, they are triplets incidentally. Chukwu Bikem and Omarichachi. Thank you for the I love you say every day. And for your level of tolerance. We are grateful to God that gave you to us. My friends, my family has been a great source of support to me, beyond everything. Despite all the tremendous inconveniences I've put them through, they must have endured a lot to see me grow at the rate I did. NEPA has signaled that we should